So as we celebrate tonight's inductees, we pay tribute to their lasting impact, to those who turned challenges into progress and showed us what excellence really looks like. Their stories remind us that the industry's legacy isn't just measured in gallons. It's not how many miles that we've traveled and covered, but it's in mentorship and collaboration and purpose. So thank you all for being part of this tradition, and thank you for the role each of you plays in advancing the LP gas industry. We continue to be privileged to have with us a leader who continues to champion propane's future with energy, purpose, and dedication. So please join me in welcoming to the stage the President and CEO of the National Propane Gas Association, Mr. Steve Kaminski.
Thank you very much, Brian. Good evening and welcome to Nashville. Thank you for giving me a few minutes to address this extremely impressive gathering of industry leaders. I look forward to this event every year. Tonight is a special night. It's when our industry pauses after a long, hectic winter heating season to honor the lions and lionesses of propane. When past inductees return to celebrate new ones. When families have the opportunity to see just how many lives their loved ones have touched during their career. This year's inductees exemplify hard work, ingenuity, commitment to safety, and the family-focused service that define the propane industry at its very best. Two of tonight's inductees were among the first NPGA board chairs I had the privilege of working with when I first joined the association. The first is Dennis Gagne. When I arrived at NPGA, no one did more to help me understand the industry than Dennis, and I mean no one. We often joke he had the time, as he proudly reminds us he was NPGA's quote-unquote COVID chair, and therefore unencumbered by travel. But what being NPGA's COVID chair really meant was that Dennis invested an extraordinary amount of time mentoring me through hours of conversations, question and answer sessions, guiding me patiently through everything from NPGA's history, propane retail fundamentals, safety, supply and logistics, and other things. He is kind, patient, and quick-witted, and he is never afraid to speak up and challenge conventional thinking. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize his wonderful wife, Mary Beth, who is always by his side. The other NPGA chair I worked closely with, who is being inducted tonight, is Bob Berry. Bob is a quiet leader. He's soft-spoken, but I would wager that few have done more to move the propane industry forward. Bob has long been a champion of international engagement, attending World Liquid Gas Association events and playing a key role in bringing overseas products and technologies into the US market, strengthening our industry and deepening global relationships in the process. Bob has also been a steadfast advocate for women in propane leadership. He was an influential voice on the NPGA nominating committee that selected our first female board chair. And within his own company, he demonstrated that commitment by transitioning from CEO to CFO to allow his daughter Lauren to step into the top role and thrive. There are only a handful of companies in our industry that rival Berquist's volunteer leadership and engagement across NPGA, PERC, and state associations, not to mention their extraordinary generosity in supporting industry initiatives. I also want to recognize Bob's wife, Linda, an enthusiastic propane advocate in her own right and a good friend of my wife, Kristen, as well as Bob's daughter, Lauren, now Berquist CEO, and son-in-law, Dave, who are proudly continuing the family legacy. Joe Armentano is another true giant in our industry. Joe not only built a thriving retail business, but he also throws his full weight behind the issues that matter. He calls me regularly to talk through legislative issues, from federal energy choice to our actions to push back against difficult policies in Albany and Trenton. And Joe puts skin in the game, whether supporting us and our coalition partners in litigation or opening his home to members of Congress to educate them about propane. Joe leads from the front. And much like Bob and Dennis, Joe is a major supporter of the propane pack. I'd also encourage everyone to read Joe's book, A Hell of a Ride, How a Father-Son Family Business Overcame Crisis to Achieve the American Dream. And I'd encourage any wine lovers to ask him about his famous cellar. I've also had the pleasure of working closely with Joe's daughter, Christina, Perico's COO. It's clear the apple does not fall far from the tree when it comes to drive, determination, and her willingness to volunteer across so many facets of the industry. Thank you, Joe. And last but certainly not least is Brian Sheehan. While I don't know Brian personally as well as the others, I know and deeply respect the company he founded. Under his ingenuity and leadership, RCC became one of the most esteemed software and hardware firms serving our industry. And I hope we're having pie for dessert tonight, as Brian is known well within RCC for his love of pie charts. Tonight is also a bit unique because, as with Bob's and Joe's daughters, Brian's daughter Jessica is also playing a crucial role in the next generation of the family-owned business. And under the collective leadership of Brian, Jessica, and their colleagues, we've seen RCC contribute in a meaningful way to industry leadership, including their involvement with initiatives like the Women in Propane podcast. Dennis, Bob, Joe, and Brian, each of these gentlemen represents the very best of the propane industry. In this industry, we talk a lot about deliveries, but what these gentlemen really delivered wasn't just propane and propane services. It was opportunity. Opportunity for employees, opportunity for customers, and opportunity for the next generation of leaders. I am so proud to be in the room with them tonight. Thank you for your service, and thank you for all you've done for propane.